Welcome to the InforMaven AI Update, a podcast for higher education administrators to discuss the practical use of AI and intelligent agents. I'm JD Mosley-Matchett, the founder and CEO of InforMaven, and this month our guest is Dr. Ruth Slotnick, the Director of Assessment at Bridgewater State University. To hear the entire interview, please visit informaven.ai. How can institutions integrate AI while maintaining human oversight and credibility? Accreditation and institutional effectiveness efforts increasingly rely on data, and AI does have the potential to support that work. So, what ways would you suggest for institutions to integrate AI into assessment reporting while still maintaining human oversight and credibility?
Well, I think it's a great question. I'm reminded of Laura Gambino's podcast, I believe on a different podcast that I listened to Laura talk about how even the NECHI Commission has their own sort of paid internal ChatGPT. I think we call them subscriptions now to the ChatGPT. And NECHI is using it for really deep dives into longitudinal analysis of, I would say, thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of self-studies, right? The reality is that we don't have paid researchers at the commission, undergraduate researchers or graduate researchers who are able to really look deeply into sort of trend analysis or coding data. So in some ways, it's kind of an exciting prospect for the commissioners themselves to think about how they use these tools for kind of a deeper analysis to look at kind of trend analysis at the commission level itself. And I applaud NECHI for already kind of experimenting kind of in an enterprise space and I'm very jealous because the enterprise space allows for a very different relationship with the technology, which I don't get because I can't afford $200 a month in the Office of Assessment. But perhaps if I worked at ASU, and our campus integrated it naturally, I'd be having a very different experience and I'd be talking to you differently. Like Lisa Bortman, who's at Arizona State University, would be an interesting person to interview because her campus is a complete adopter to the point where she might not be able to tell you much because of the intellectual property piece of how they're using it, right? But we need that in the field right now. When it relates to the accreditation pieces and components, the human is always the final judge. Jessica Parker calls it the human sandwich, right? The buns are the human and the middle could be the generative AI inputs that you're doing and outputs. But, at the top and the bottom, the human is always there for the input and the output. So when we think about the accreditation pieces, and I believe that you've had the wonderful Glenn Phillips on your podcast, and Glenn has probably already talked about, it is actually possible to think about how to use generative AI to measure against a set of standards. And I don't see that as a barrier. And I think Chia just recently put out a statement that, it's not, their guidelines. There's no policy directives that I don't think is coming down from any of the institutional commissions themselves or even Chia, just guidelines. But, the human stays in the loop. However, if you could take a piece of writing that your institution has put together and you can say, now you feed it in and you say, where have I missed addressing a standard? Give me the strengths and weaknesses on this particular narrative of what I'm missing and or, am I addressing more description or am I actually providing an evidence-based narrative? And it's pretty good at giving reflection and feedback. And you can even further now with deep research, for example, in ChatGPT, you can ask it to do comparative analysis. So I think that we can work the tools to our advantage, but still at the end of the day, it doesn't know our institutional data. It doesn't know evidence-based stories. It doesn't have the actual day-to-day interaction from the dean level to the department level to the way that the Office of Assessment may collect or aggregate or tell stories. So it's not going to replace the assessment professional and or even a writing team's work. However, it can serve as a really powerful copy editor. Copy editors are expensive. It could do a first pass copy edit. You can tell the machine, that's all that it is. You can tell the machine to go through not change a single word, but go through every single page and look for where every page needs copy edits. You can restrict what you tell it to do for preparing the narrative. Now, writing the entire narrative without actually having humans in the loop I think is nearly impossible. Although it'd be kind of a fun project to see where it goes. And my guess is that it will start hallucinating all sorts of data. It will make up data. It wants to please you. The machine wants to please you. It will make up some data and it will stick the data in there and probably create some pretty graphics that will have nothing to do with your institution. So all that to say is that I think that it could have a role as a tool in the work that we do on our campuses and the contributions the assessment person might have in any sort of accreditation writing components.
Please visit InforMaven.ai to hear the entire interview.